Jiang Yu's white moonlight was returning home. Everyone in the circle was watching me make a fool of myself, spreading rumors that I, the opportunistic Mrs. Jiang, who had climbed her way to the top, was about to be kicked out. But I didn't care at all, because just now I had heard his inner thoughts. Which episode should I watch today? The snobbish concubine or the return of the dowager concubine? How about the second one? My wife's legs are so fair in that one. That episode's really good. The man was sitting on the sofa, his face expressionless as he skimmed over the musical starring his white moonlight and flipped through the episodes. I leaned back comfortably in my rocking chair. A man who loved empresses in the palace couldn't be that bad. 01. A month ago, I discovered that I could hear Jiang Yu's inner thoughts. It was a very ordinary morning. I got up and went to wash with Jiang Yu. As usual, I was playing the part of the beautiful but useless, but totally devoted to her husband, wealthy wife. I waited for a long time outside the dressing room, but I still hadn't seen the man come out with his tie for me to put on him. Just as I was about to go in and see what was going on, a voice suddenly sounded. Should I choose the one with the dark pattern or the floral one? A man's voice in the empty room was like a thunderclap out of nowhere. I was so startled I looked around. There was nobody there. The dark pattern, I guess. It's a little old-fashioned, but my wife gave it to me. No, the floral one is better. It's even more old-fashioned, but I like it. The man was struggling to decide. I looked suspiciously towards the dressing room. It was impossible that Jiang Yu's voice could have carried so loudly from that distance. But it sounded as if it were right in my ear. It's decided I'll go with the floral one. I'm 29 already, in my middle age. What's wrong with being a little old-fashioned? My wife will forgive me. The man had obviously convinced himself. I swallowed hard, staring at the dressing room. The next second, Jiang Yu's tall figure appeared in the doorway. He was holding a purple and gold floral tie. Hearing the thoughts of a domineering CEO wasn't always a good thing. Like now, we were eating breakfast face to face. Jiang Yu spoke little and never talked while eating or sleeping. He would usually pick up the day's newspaper while eating and quietly finish his meal. Of course, that was in the past. Now I felt like my ears were about to explode. So tired, I don't want to go to work. If only I could stay at home all the time. Why does my wife keep glancing at me? Has she finally noticed that I'm wearing the tie she bought me? She didn't even put my tie on today? I'm really sad. I glanced at Jiang Yu's collar. It was indeed the black gold tie with the dark pattern that I had casually bought on my last shopping trip. My wife is so cute. She's cute when she glances at me, and she's cute when she drinks her milk. If only she would wear the pajamas I bought her tonight. That would be even more cute. I was so shocked by his words that I choked. Cough, cough, cough. I had indeed received a set of pajamas last week, but they had been mixed in with the other clothes that were sent from the brand. As Mrs. Jiang, I received new clothes from all the major shows every quarter. When I saw that cat outfit, I wondered which brand had started going in this direction, sending such things straight to me. Who would have thought that that outrageous outfit was actually Jiang Yu's private stash? No wonder he had been so eager for me to go into the bathroom these past few nights. And then he looked disappointed when I came out. His heart would also complain. Does my wife not like it? Does she not like the clothes? Or is it that she doesn't like me as a person? I had been baffled at the time. Who would have thought that this was the reason? I glared fiercely at the man across from me. Jiang Yu looked at me calmly. Drink slowly, don't rush. He was still his usual expressionless, noble, and proper self. What an act! His inner thoughts at this moment were deafening. My wife glared at me. Why did she glare at me? No good morning kiss, not putting my tie on. And now she's glaring at me. The dramas were right. When beauty fades, love withers away. I'm only 29, and she's already dissatisfied with me. Enough, I'm going to feel sorry for myself. Jiang Yu and I had gotten married 3 years ago. The marriage of the Jiang family's heir and an 18th-tier actress was not looked upon favorably by anyone. Not to mention, Jiang Yu had a well-known white moonlight. Everyone mocked me for being shameless and scheming, for climbing into bed while Jiang Yu's white moonlight was abroad chasing her career. Now that his white moonlight had returned, everyone in the circle was watching me make a fool of myself, and some were even openly betting on how soon I would be kicked out. Sushi was the most eager to pick a fight with me. I coldly watched the figures walking toward me. Oh, isn't this Miss Yu? Here by herself again. Aren't you being ridiculous? How could President Jiang possibly accompany her to an auction? He'd probably be disgusted to even be in the same place as her. She's well known for being a terrible person, but she still dares to come out in public. She's so thick-skinned. The lackeys chimed in one after another. Sushi stood in the middle with a mocking expression. You xia, you won't be smug for long. I've heard that Sister Xiao Xiao is back. You'll have to pack your bags and get lost soon. Just as she finished speaking, there was a commotion at the hall entrance. Several people came in, surrounded by others. The man in the middle was wearing a black suit, with broad shoulders and long legs. His nobility was natural. I never expected to see Jiang Yu here. He never came to auctions in person before. Someone who was born with a silver spoon in their mouth like him. No matter how precious an object was, it wasn't worth mentioning in his eyes. In the moment I was stunned, there was another commotion at the entrance. A woman in a moon-white dress walked up to Jiang Yu, and the two of them stood very close as they spoke. A talented man and a beautiful woman, they were very pleasing to the eye from afar. It was Jiang Yu's rumored white moonlight, Lin Jixiao. I told you long ago. Sushi leaned closer to me, full of malice. A woman like you, who can't hold her own, is no match for even one strand of Sister Xiao Xiao's hair. The moment she came back, Brother Au immediately put aside what he was doing to accompany her to the auction. In all the years you've been married, has Brother Au ever attended a public event with you? I didn't say anything, but stared fixedly in their direction. It was a lie to say that I felt nothing. The man who had been so insatiable with me last night was now openly accompanying his white moonlight today. And the last time we had appeared together in front of the public was at our wedding 3 years ago. But my sadness only lasted a second, because the next moment, I heard the man, who had no expression on his face, secretly cursing inside. Damn it, why is Lin Jixiao here? Why does she have so much to say? If only I had a snobbish concubine, I would really love to slap her. I was half the hall away from Jiang Yu. Over the auctioneer's passionate bidding, his thoughts were still clearly transmitted to my ears. How boring. I miss my wife. I wonder what she's doing. She isn't even looking for me. These people are secretly talking about me, thinking I can't hear them. They're saying that I'm handsome. Okay, I can take that. I'm kind of handsome after all. Me. If it wasn't for this sudden special ability, I would never have imagined that Jiang Yu's inner thoughts were so vibrant. The auctioneer on the stage was introducing an oil painting called Dream. It was a portrait of a 5-year-old girl painted by the popular artist Yu Qingxiu many years ago, but Yu Qingxiu herself had passed away 20 years ago. For 1,800,000, 5 million. As the bids got higher, my hands clenched tighter and tighter. I steadied myself and held up my paddle. 8 million. Among all of Yu Qingxiu's paintings that had been auctioned, the most expensive one had sold for no more than 13 million. Many of the bidders stopped bidding immediately. The auctioneer looked at me. 8 million once, 8 million twice. My heart started to beat wildly. But just before the auctioneer's hammer fell, 10 million. Sushi next to me raised her hand. I turned my head in disbelief. She looked at me smugly, with a provocative expression. You xia, you want the painting? Kneel down and beg me in front of everyone, and I'll give it to you. As you know, I can bid more than just 10 million. I gritted my teeth. Sushi guessed right, my limit was just over 10 million. With my current savings, I couldn't possibly outbid her, even if I spent everything. And this painting was one of the few things that my mother had left for me. The auctioneer started the final bidding. Sushi leaned in closer to me again. You xia. So what if your mom's paintings are famous now? They can still be bought by people who casually spend money. A lowly person will always be lowly. You and your mom are the same. She drew out her words slowly. I couldn't take it anymore. Sushi, you and your father are like two dogs barking. Before I could finish speaking, 20 million. Jiang Yu's cold voice rang out. I looked towards him, shocked. Sushi next to me was stunned for a moment. I bid 20 million. Jiang Yu repeated. His gaze pierced through the crowd and landed on me, as if he was saying it just for me. I was absent-minded for the rest of the auction. I kept thinking about why Jiang Yu had bought the painting. As far as I knew, Jiang Yu didn't like me. He had married me because of a night of desire 3 years ago. But his attitude recently had been very strange, even his inner thoughts. Lost in thought, I walked out. Sushi followed me again. "You Xia, don't be smug. It's just a painting worth 20 million. Don't forget that brother you just bought a 300 million blue diamond for Sister Xiao Xiao. Compared to 300 million, 20 million is just a small thing he bought casually. You can tell who is more important, right?" I frowned. "What? Didn't you see it? Brother Au took Sister Xiao Xiao to the VIP room. Of course, he's going to give it to her." I hadn't noticed that. The highlight of the auction was indeed an Oppenheimer blue diamond. I had heard that many people had come for it, but I never expected that Jiang Yu would be the one to buy it in the end. I was uninterested, but Sushi was still being persistent. "I'm saying that some people should be sensible and leave by themselves. Even if a pheasant tries to fly up the branches, it will eventually fall down." Sushi's voice was loud, and everyone around noticed this. People started to whisper, "Hey, isn't that President Jiang's wife? President Jiang is here today too. But why are they separated? And President Jiang is with another woman. I heard a long time ago that they don't get along. It really is like that." I looked around. These people were all from the upper class circle. Hearing these words made me feel inexplicably tired. Amidst the gossip, the door of the VIP room next to us opened at some point. A tall figure stood at the door. "Is that so? Who said that?" The man's voice was deep, his dark eyes staring straight at the person who had spoken last. He didn't hide his displeasure. Jiang Yu's appearance was like pressing the mute button. Everyone in the room was silent. He walked towards me and took my hand. "Why are you so cold? You're not wearing enough clothes again." He took the coat from the assistant and draped it over me. "You didn't come over when you saw me. You ignored me this morning, and now you don't want to acknowledge me. Are you still mad at me?" Jiang Yu's voice softened as he gently rubbed my waist. His words were full of grievances, and his actions were self-evident. I thought of how I had been worn out last night. I glared at Jiang Yu. This man had no idea what he was doing. Jiang Yu chuckled when he saw my expression. He hadn't forgotten the commotion that had just happened and said, with me in his arms, "Next time, if you are still angry at me, you have to tell me where you're going, okay? So that you won't be bullied by irrelevant people when you're outside." His words were too pointed. Sushi, who was trying to play dead, couldn't pretend anymore. She hurriedly spoke, "Brother Au, Miss Su." Jiang Yu interrupted her coldly. "I am curious as to how your father taught his daughter." Sushi's face immediately turned pale. Jiang Yu did not show any mercy. The Jiang family and the Su family do have some ongoing collaborations, but I hope you understand that the initiative of the cooperation has never been in your father's hands. My patience is not so great that I will let someone insult my wife to my face. I only have one wife, and she is very precious. I did not marry her so that she would be bullied when she is out. Go back and tell your father that if there are any unexpected problems with his capital chain, he can blame it on me, Jiang. His voice wasn't deliberately lowered. The people there looked at me with different expressions. The people who had been gossiping about me had faces full of regret. They couldn't wait to find a hole to hide in, for fear of being noticed by Jiang Yu. Sushi was so frightened that she was about to cry. She reached out helplessly. "No, brother Au, it's me. She, you can't." Jiang Yu hugged me and avoided her touch. "Miss Su, please be respectful. Just because we grew up in the same neighborhood doesn't mean you can call me brother. If that's how it should work, wouldn't the Jiang family have children everywhere?" His eyes revealed a hint of sarcasm. On the way home, Jiang Yu and I were silent for a long time. Even though I knew he was just saying those things to save my face in public, I still couldn't suppress the feelings in my heart that I thought were dead. In the silence, a sudden, mischievous voice rang out. That was so satisfying. I wanted to curse that green tea to death a long time ago. It's brother, brother this and brother that all day long. I'm not your brother. I'm your dad. I'm going to bankrupt the Su family when I get back tonight. Everyone just go bankrupt. Let's crush them. Let's make them fly. I'm so handsome. My wife must be so smitten with me today. He. Me? No. Why is Jiang Yu's inner monologue so ridiculous? Ah, why is my wife glaring at me again? Jiang Yu's heart voiced his doubts. My wife has really been so weird lately. She keeps ignoring me, and she doesn't want to kiss me anymore. No, I have to do something. I'll look it up later. How can middle-aged men regain their wife's affection? I was at my wit's end. I was just about to say something to shut this middle-aged man up when he spoke. Yuxia. The man looked at me, his face still cold. Only the heat in his eyes was still there. You are my wife, the most honored mistress of the Jiang family. If anyone dares to bully you, don't hesitate and hit back. Understand? I was stunned for a moment and mumbled, well, I was planning to curse back anyway. Not enough. Jiang, you seem to have thought of something, and a smile appeared in his eyes. Does Mrs. Jiang have some kind of misunderstanding about the wealth of the Jiang family? Just bid for what you want. A mere 10 million is nothing. The Su family was only able to make a fortune because of their cooperation with the Jiang family. If they dare use money to shame my people, we can slap them in the face with even more money. His voice was calm and steady, as if he was seriously teaching me how to fight back. Don't you have the card I gave you? Don't hesitate next time. Of course I'm going to support you, seeing as I've married you. Or as Mrs. Jiang doesn't trust me and wants to keep things so separate. Hearing this, I didn't dare to meet his eyes. I quietly lowered my head. It's not that. Then why is it? Jiang Yu looked at me leisurely, as if he had to get an answer. Because I braced myself. The one you gave me is a credit card. The man's face froze. There is a fee for withdrawals, I said meekly. Jiang Yu. After that day, the Su family was indeed begging people for money everywhere. Jiang Yu's words from that day had spread throughout the upper-class circle. Su, she never showed up again. Her former friends avoided her, and even went out of their way to avoid me. I was happy to have some peace. Not long after, Jiang Yu transferred a large sum of money to me. I counted it, enough to buy 10 blue diamonds. When I received the message, I grinned from ear to ear. Man, you're indeed charming. But sometimes, I was still bothered about the Oppenheimer diamond that Jiang Yu had bought. The news of Lin Jixiao's return was all over the place. She was born into a family of performers and was a household name as a child star. Having just finished her international tour of musicals, her fame was only growing. I was browsing through Weibo while wearing a face mask. The incident where Jiang Yu had stood up for me last time hadn't been leaked to the outside world. The comments from netizens were as varied as ever. Woo-woo, my daughter is so gorgeous, talented, and beautiful. My darling is just too good. She's focused on her career, which is why some people were able to take advantage of her. That's right, some scum. It's only because Xiao Xiao is busy. Otherwise, how could they ever climb to the top? Some people used to play Sister Xiao Zhao's maids, and now they only deserve the leftovers she's left behind. Needless to say, the some people they were referring to as me, Yuxia. Ever since I got married, this unknown 18th-tier actress also had her own fandom name, the Scum. Netizens said that it was very fitting for my name, Yuxia. Given that I wasn't famous, there was no one to speak up for me. I turned off my phone, frustrated, but I didn't have much energy to pay attention to these bad comments. Because Jiang Yu and I were about to participate in a couples reality show called Little Things About Couples. It was said to be about couples, but apart from Jiang Yu and I, the other couples were either already divorced or on the verge of getting divorced. There were rumors of discord flying around for each couple. When my manager, Sister Wan, approached me, I knew it was bad news. It was clearly aimed at me. But when I refused outright, Sister Wan was very surprised. You're not participating? But President Jiang has already agreed. I was stunned. One of the investors for this program is Liu Media under the Jiang Corporation. President Jiang probably agreed because of that. Don't overthink it. I slowly turned my head to look at Jiang Yu. The man was sitting in the living room, completely engrossed in watching his empresses in the palace. This time, it was the episode where Consort Hua commits suicide. On the television, Nian Shirlan was smashing her head against a wall, crying out, Your Majesty, you have made Shirlan suffer so much." Jiang Yu's face was unmoved, but he sighed inwardly. Wow, that's a loud thud, like a winter melon. Looks painful. Me? The background music on the television was very bleak. My heart was also cold. Man, you've made me suffer too. This couple's reality show was entirely live. It was located on a small island. When Jiang and I arrived, the other three couples were already there. The first couple was Zheng Xuqi and Ming Yin. They had once been the golden couple of the entertainment circle. They had dated for 8 years and got married. But within 2 short years, they had ended in a bitter divorce. The second couple was the singing duo, Gu Sheng and Guan Li. Their duo had been popular for many years, but the two of them had long grown apart. There was also a couple that had been divorced for over 20 years. They were both senior actors, and they maintained a good relationship because of their children. I glanced around, and I was numb. There were only 2 seats left in the middle side by side. They were obviously reserved for Jiang and me. And the others, the 2 senior actors were sitting in the first seats on the left and right respectively, and Zheng Xuqi and Ming Yin were also in the second seats on either side. Gu Sheng and Guan Li hadn't divorced yet, so they were more restrained. They were separated from me and Jiang. My eyelids were twitching like crazy. None of the couples wanted to sit together, yet they still decided to participate in the show. Were they really that desperate for the paycheck? I didn't even want to imagine how many people were going to come to curse me when the show started, just as I was getting annoyed. Wow! An admiring voice came from the depths of Jiang heart. Interesting. His face showed nothing, but there was a strange light in his eyes. Looks like I didn't come here for nothing. What a battlefield of bitterness. I love it. I wonder if I can watch them fight these next few days. It's definitely going to be more exciting than empresses in the palace. Me? No. I wondered why this dog of a man was so suddenly eager to come on the show. Just to watch the drama? Was that his purpose? What investors, what considering the big picture? That was all bullshit. He just wanted to watch the fun. This man was like one of those village elders in his past life. My face was starting to twist up. Sensing my gaze, Jiang slowly turned his head to look at me. He paused the moment our eyes met. A slight hint of confusion appeared in his eyes. My wife's face is so green. Why is she getting even greener? And then black, and then purple. Wow, so colorful. The show officially started. In an instant, a large number of viewers flooded into the live streaming platform. The bullet screen comments flew by quickly. I'm here. The first divorce reality show in the domestic entertainment industry. Haha. The person who planned this show is a genius. It's so funny from the start. Look at the seating arrangement. It's a couple show, but none of the couples are sitting together. The show is really daring with the guests they invited, and the guests are really daring to come. What a battlefield of bitterness, haha. Are we really that desperate for the money? I had expected that this show might be effective, but I had still underestimated the Chinese people's love of watching the drama. Within just 10 minutes of the show starting, the number of online viewers approached 100 million. The server crashed at one point. I finally made it on. This damn iQIYI app took forever to repair. Why is everyone calling this a divorce reality show? There is one real couple, right? Those 2 in the middle. You mean President Jiang and Yu Xia? Give me a break. Who doesn't know that their marriage relies entirely on Yu Xia clinging to him? President Jiang has someone else in his heart. Weren't there rumors that Lin Jixiao was coming too? Where is she? I'm here for that love triangle. I paused slightly when I saw that. Lin Jixiao was coming too. Just as that question popped into my head, the director started announcing the rules. Every couple had to draw a task card each day. They had to complete the task to get their food for the day. At the end of the day, everyone would go back to the cabin and cook dinner together. The couples who failed to complete the task would receive a punishment. In addition, there would be a mysterious guest on the show today. When I heard that and thought about the bullet screen comments from before, I had a bad feeling. As expected, just as the director finished speaking, a slender, tall figure walked out of the small cabin. It was Lin Jixiao. My vision went black. Lin Jixiao's arrival increased the show's popularity even more. 666. The show knows how to create a vibe. Ha ha ha. How can you guys invite someone like that? Your show is fearless. Lin Jixiao and Jiang Yu are here for each other, right? Childhood sweethearts are indeed hard to forget. It's good that she's here. My daughter has to show her face more and let those scheming bitches see what they are worth. I'm saying that you guys are really enough. They've been married for 3 years, and you're still pointing fingers at them every day. I stopped watching. The bad comments about me in the past few years have been countless, and they all said the same things. Over there, Jiang Yu had already gone to draw a card. Zheng Xuqi and Ming Yin were the first to get a card, and they had drawn going out to sea to fish. The moment Ming Yin saw the task, she started to mock. He, a playboy, goes to the sea. Everyone will be well fed tonight. There will be more fish than anyone can eat. So great. Zheng Xuqi's expression was dark as he raised his lips to reply. Who says? The daughter of the sea is going home, and I'm sure the shrimp soldiers and crab generals will come out to greet her. The two were full of animosity. The bullet screen was already going crazy. I knew that this show would be interesting. The ultimate battle between the playboy and the playgirl. I love this group so much, ha ha ha. They were tangled up for 10 years, they still have feelings for each other. Next, after the two senior actors drew gardening and the singing duo drew feeding the pigs, Jiang Yu also came back with a card. I looked at him with a bit of anticipation. This young master had always been lucky. Surely he would draw an easier task. So, full of confidence, I opened the card, and then my smile froze on my face. There were 4 words on the paper: street performance. It was easy, sure, but the problem was that I and Jiang Yu, one was tone deaf and the other was uncoordinated. Letting us sing and dance in the street was worse than hanging ourselves on the spot. I looked at Jiang Yu with a stiff smile. Jiang Yu also looked at me with a rather strange smile. Why do these two have this expression? You don't have to do labor or feed the pigs. Isn't busking the easiest? The actors are going to the sea, the singers are feeding the pigs, and the domineering president is singing. Why am I a bit excited? The netizens commented. Jiang Yu and I took the equipment the production team gave us and found a lively street. Lin Jixiao followed us too. She had a bright smile, her hands behind her back. She was very playful and cute. Can I join your group today? You won't refuse me, will you? Jiang Yu lowered his eyes to glance at her and frowned slightly, but he didn't deny it. He turned to set up the equipment. Ever since she came, Jiang Yu's attitude had been a bit strange. He was usually someone who loved to ramble in his heart, but today he didn't say a word. The bullet screen comments started to bubble again. President Jiang really won't refuse Xiao Xiao. I'm shipping them again. The two of them are trying to get close to each other. Lin Jixiao winked at me. Xiao Xiao, right? I've heard about you many times. I'm Lin Jixiao. It's nice to meet you. I nodded. Nice to meet you too. Lin Jixiao smiled even more. The production team had a rule that the guests could not provide us with any help in this segment, so she watched us from the side. I pulled Jiang Yu and started the performance in earnest. To create an effect, the production team had only given us an arrow. All of Jiang Yu's musical knowledge was in Western music. He was silent for a long time. He turned his head to look at me. When I received his gaze, I braced myself and took the arrow. What can you sing? I asked. Jiang Yu looked at me deeply and reported 4 words with grief. Phoenix flying. Very good. As expected of Empresses in the Palace Man. The only song he knew was the theme song of Empresses in the Palace. I gave him a thumbs up and looked with pity at everyone present. More and more people gathered around to watch. Under the gentle sounds of the Eru, Jiang Yu started to sing in a serious voice. Vague memories of the old dream. The past is blurry. In the spring flowers and autumn moon. The production team was stunned, looking at flowers through the fog, watching the moon in the water. The smiles on the faces of the surrounding onlookers froze. You came with sound, you left in silence, in the rain and wind. The bullet screen also froze for a moment. Everyone was silent, but Jiang Yu was very immersed in it. The phoenix tree in the drizzle, its leaves rustle. With the wind, the memories sway. After the song was over, there was complete silence. The lively street had emptied out at some point. A 50-year-old aunt walked over and put 5 yuan in front of us with pity. Oh dear young man, you're so handsome. But how can you sing so horribly? Me. Jiang Yu. The production team. The bullet screen went crazy with laughter. I was showing all my teeth while laughing, but after President Jiang opened his mouth, my mother cried and asked why I was not cheerful anymore. The fact that the domineering president knows how to sing Phoenix Flying is hilarious, 100%. The fact that he's off-key while singing is hilarious, 1,000%. The fact that people ran away from the street is hilarious, 10,000%. The fact that the ant threw 5 yuan is hilarious, 1,000,000,000,000%. Who can understand my dogshit sense of humor? Are you guys not focused on the main point? One of them knows how to play Phoenix Flying on the Eru, and the other knows how to sing that song. So what exactly do these two do at home? Lin Jixiao was smiling so widely that her eyes were hidden. Jiang Yu and I also looked at the 5 yuan in the bowl in silence. Our moods heavy. At this rate, our activity funds for tomorrow would barely even let us leave the house. I looked at Jiang Yu. He was staring at the money with a blank expression, and his inner thoughts revealed his regret. Why didn't anyone tell me that there was such a high price to pay for watching drama? There's no other way now. I spoke with a heavy heart. Jiang Yu looked at me, confused. I solemnly picked up the bowl, as if I were looking at a treasure. Our ancestors have taught us that you can have nothing, but you must have a bowl. Give me a bowl, and I will give you the world. Jiang Yu? A moment later, Jiang Yu was stuffed into a sack by me. He obediently closed his eyes. I shook my head around 360 degrees and messed up my entire look for the day. Then I knelt down on the ground, disheveled and covered in mud. I placed a sign in front of me. My son had a head tissue removal surgery, which used up all of my savings. I have nowhere to turn. Please, kind people, help me and let my son have a full meal. With tears streaming down my face, I trembled as I held out my bowl to passers-by. The bullet screen comments. These two are driving me crazy, haha. How can they be so good at this? I'm dying of laughter. I'm really curious what they do at home. You know what? Yu Xia's acting is actually really good. Her old dramas were also super good, but it's a pity that she doesn't act anymore. That group that went to fish started kissing while they were fishing. This group sang and then started begging for money. This show is too great. President Jiang is really obedient when it comes to Yu Xia. He does whatever she asks him to do. Does he really not like Yu Xia? I think the two of them are pretty in sync. I cried with genuine emotion, and the passers-by looked at me with pity. People started putting down 1 or 2 coins. I kowtowed and made sounds like thunk, thunk. Thank you, kind people. Thank you. Thank you. A pair of familiar feet stopped in front of me. I looked up through teary eyes, and it was actually that aunt from before. She clearly didn't recognize me. She was patting her pockets. Oh, where are my coins? Do I not have any? If only I didn't give it to that young man earlier. He sang so terribly. This habit of mine to look at people's faces. My tears paused. Jiang Yu in the sack. The audience laughed even more. President Jiang. Annie, damn, why is this so funny? The ant gave him a second shot and went for the kill. Look at Lin Jixiao. She's laughing like crazy in the back. It looks like she loves to watch Jiang Yu get the short end of the stick. Are the two of them really the type of relationship we think they are? The ant looked at us regretfully. I hardened my heart. I tremblingly raised the sign and pretended to inadvertently reveal the QR code on it. That, we're keeping up with the times? I said shamelessly. I thought that I could tell the assistant to find the ant and return the money later. But for now, we should borrow some money for our expenses. The ant was stunned. She raised her hand to adjust her reading glasses and squinted at the QR code. She was kind, but she was not stupid at all. Bah! Her face changed. You're a con artist. This QR code was just printed. The ink isn't even dry. Me. The ant angrily walked away and kicked my bowl over on the way. The bullet screen was filled with ha 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 ha. The ant took back her 5 yuan and kicked over your bowl. Woman, do you think you can rise up again with just a bowl? I'm dying of laughter. President Jiang has never had to work so hard for 5 yuan in his entire life. I stared at the bowl that had rolled several meters away in silence, the coins scattered everywhere. After thinking about it, I went over to pick them up one by one. 1 or 2 yuan was still money. I could not want the money just for the sake of dignity. My assistant, Yang suddenly made a noise next to the camera. She held up her phone and gestured to me in shock. Sister Xia, someone has sent you money. Whoa, so much money. Our task was stopped immediately. Because the QR code was shown on the live broadcast, a lot of netizens had sent us money. When the director saw that more and more people were transferring us money, he hurriedly announced that we had completed the task. We now had a scary amount of funds. Even if we didn't do tasks for the next few days, we could live comfortably. As for the netizens who sent money, Jiang had already asked his secretary to contact them and have the money sent back through finance. Back at the cabin, Zheng Xuqi and Ming Yin somehow didn't catch much fish, but their gazes started to get a little sticky. Although the singing duo and the senior actors received some farm produce, it was far from enough to feed everyone. In the end, we decided to use our funds to hire some people to come over to do a barbecue. We could also have roasted lamb on the spot, drink a little wine, and be as comfortable as we could be. President Jiang is so generous. Ming Yin cheered. We get to eat well again. Guanli laughed. Jiang Yu put his arm around my waist, his lips slightly raised. It wasn't me. It was all my wife's efforts. Ming Yan's eyes were sparkling. You're so awesome. Xia, what did you do? I heard that we now have six-figure funds. This is the first time I've seen an artist make so much money on a show. Me? Beg for money on the streets? I replied to her in a serious tone. It was just some performance art. Lin Jixiao, who knew the truth, chuckled from the side. Jiang Yu's eyes were full of laughter. My wife is so cute and amazing. My wife. Listening to his inner voice, my ears turned hot. Xia is indeed amazing. You married a great wife. Lin Jixiao said with a smile. The hand on my waist suddenly tightened. Jiang Yu, who had just been chatting away in his heart, suddenly went silent, and his face turned dark. The netizens also noticed this. After Lin Jixiao said that President Jiang's face didn't look too good. Could this be one of those melodramatic plots, where he's angry that she's not paying attention to him, and not angry when she says that? The two of them really have history. The people from the barbecue shop arrived quickly. They set up the grills in the small garden and started the preparations for the barbecue. A few of the male guests also started to carry the chairs out. I was carrying a box of beer, panting as I did so. A figure stood in front of me. Lin Jixiao smiled at me gently. Xia, is it heavy? Let me help you carry it. Before I could react, she reached out and took the beer from my hands. The box was full of glass bottles. It was a bit difficult for me to hold, but Lin Jixiao lifted it easily. I was a bit stunned when I saw that. She looked slender, but she was actually very strong. Thank you. No need. Tell me if you need any help. Lin Jixiao's eyes curved as she smiled. I pursed my lips. I seemed to understand why everyone said that she was Jiang Yu's white moonlight. A girl who was so kind and gentle could indeed be seen as a moonbeam. What are you doing? Jiang Yu didn't know when he had walked up to us. He frowned as he looked at this scene. I'm helping Xia carry the beer. She's so thin. How can she carry this alone? Lin Jixiao interrupted. Put it down, Jiang Yu said. Huh? I said, put it down. Jiang Yu frowned and said unhappily, do you need to do these things? I looked at Jiang Yu fixedly. It was the first time I'd seen him worry for someone like this. I'm going. The three of them are finally facing off. They were so harmonious this afternoon. I thought that they were going to keep up the act forever. I'm a little bit sad for you, Xia. The bullet screen comments kept coming. Just put it down, then. I just won't help. Why are you so fierce, you? Lin Jixiao put down the beer. She winked at me playfully and went somewhere else. I had the feeling that her smile afterwards was a bit strange. In fact, I'd had a very strange feeling ever since I'd seen her today. Jiang Yu stared at her back, his face still cold. In the future, stay away from her. 16. Jiang Yu had left for a long time, but I was still standing in the same spot. His last sentence was still ringing in my head. Stay away from her. What had I done to make Jiang Yu think that I would harm Lin Jixiao? I laughed bitterly. My heart was aching, and it spread to every part of my body. The stinging pain in my fingertips made it hard for me to breathe for a moment. Yuxia's back looks so pitiful. Her own husband is protecting his white moonlight. This is like the setting of a tragic novel. The person before me, are you an idiot? Why are you speaking up for this scheming woman? Everyone knows that she took advantage of Lin Jixiao being abroad and moved in when there was an opening. That's right. If you dare to do something like that, then you should be prepared to face the consequences. Do you people have any brains? You're all blindly hating Yuxia. Did you watch her seduce Jiang Yu from under the bed or something? You're just following the crowd and spewing hate with no idea what you're even talking about. Yuxia was very low-key before, and she never acted up. You guys have really gone too far. Besides, it was Jiang Yu himself who decided to marry her. If he wasn't willing, could anyone have forced him to marry her? You're only hating on the woman. The man is just able to hide away so easily, isn't he? The bullet screen comments were arguing nonstop, but I was in no mood to read them anymore. The start of my relationship with Jiang Yu was indeed a one-sided love on my part. It was my own fault. The first day Jiang Yu met me, I was sitting amongst a group of extras, eating my boxed lunch with dirt all over my face. He was there to look for Lin Jixiao. That drama was one of her most famous shows, the Ming Palace. She played a graceful princess, while I played a displaced refugee. In the drama, I was a beggar who awakened the princess's sympathy for the common people. My purpose was just to get her to glance at me for a moment. Outside of the drama, I sat amongst the smelly crowd, watching her get swarmed by people. Her assistant held an umbrella for her and handed her water. Only one person passed me and saw me. It was Jiang Yu. He squatted down in front of me and politely and coldly asked, "Hello, do you know where Lin Jixiao is?" I looked at him blankly and pointed in one direction. He nodded and thanked me and walked in the direction I pointed. I saw him give Lin Jixiao something, which caused her to frown unhappily. He didn't leave in the afternoon, but sat quietly next to the director. The director was scolding his assistant angrily. How many times have I told her? Does she think that what I say is bullshit? She can either film or get the hell out. I don't need one actor. Don't come and try to pull strings. That doesn't work on me. He was scolding the third female lead of the show. She was also the biggest villain in the Ming Palace, Du Huaishi. The role was originally a handmaiden of the princess. She later earned the favor of the villainous prince by betraying the princess and almost became empress. The third female lead had joined the cast because of money, and she was already unhappy that she had to play second fiddle to Lin Jixiao. After being scolded a few times for her acting, she was constantly acting like a diva. Several hundred people were waiting for one person. The director was furious. "Remove her. Take her off the show. I don't believe that I'm missing one investment." The assistant tried to persuade him. "Even if you replace her now, where are we going to find a person that quickly?" Jiang Yu, who had been silent for a long time, finally spoke up at this time. "Director Lee, what do you think of her?" The man pointed in the distance. I looked up in a daze. Everyone's eyes were on me. Actually, that drama was also the drama that made me famous. After I auditioned, Director Lee used me without any hesitation. The other extras looked at me with various expressions. A familiar young girl came up to me and nudged my shoulder. "Hey, how do you know young Master Jiang? I saw him talking to you just now." I looked up at that noble and aloof figure. At that time, Jiang Yu was still a teenager. He was only 19 years old, but he already had a powerful aura. Just sitting there made people feel ashamed of themselves. I pursed my lips and whispered, "I don't know him, but how could that be possible?" That wasn't the first time I'd seen Jiang Yu. When I was 12 years old, I had once gone to the Jiang residence. I followed my mother in a daze and entered the West Mountain Villa. It was the first time I had seen such a beautiful place. Each house was so far away from the other that my legs were aching from walking. I looked up and asked my mother, "How much further do we have to go?" That frail woman forced a pale smile. "Soon, Nan. You'll see your father soon." I knew that she was there to ask him to take care of me. She was about to die. She had gone to many hospitals, and every person in white had shaken their head at her. And then they looked at me with pity. When she got home, she would always count her money and then look at me and cry. At that time, she was poor and destitute, and her works had never met with anyone who would appreciate them. She had so many tears, always flowing, and they flowed into my heart. She had nowhere else to go. So, she brought me to look for that man, hoping to entrust her young daughter to someone who could raise her to be an adult. Even though that unfeeling man had once deceived her with sweet words, and then abandoned her after climbing into the bed of a high official's daughter. But she didn't manage to meet that man even once. The man's wife found people to stop her and chase her out of the villa. That dignified woman stood on the high steps with a look of disgust. "Take your bastard and leave. Don't come back. Don't you know what kind of place this is? Don't look at me like that. It's his own decision not to see you." Today is the Jiang family's gathering, and his project is about to be finalized. He's afraid that you'll ruin his plans. "I have 10,000 yuan here. I'll give it to you as charity. Take it and leave." Next to the woman was a young girl with a delicate face, wearing a beautiful princess dress. I knew that she was my father's daughter from later on, Sushi. On the way out, I looked at my old clothes and thought about how long this road was and how beautiful that princess dress was. My mother was still crying. Maybe she also thought that this road was too long. Just at that moment, a black car suddenly stopped next to us. A man in black clothing politely said to us, "Hello, madam. Our young master has asked me to send you out." Young master? I thought of the family that had just held the banquet. When I was leaving, a quiet young boy was sitting in the courtyard. Actually, the moment I saw Jiang on the set, I recognized him. He blocked the retaliation from the investors for me. He blocked the room card meant to be used as a means of a potential unspoken rule. He gave me opportunities, and he gave me dignity. Just like he did when I was 12 years old. He had said, "You xia, lift your head." He had also said, "You xia, stand tall and be a person." So, 3 years ago, when Sushi's father, Su Anshan, had drugged him, I walked into that room without hesitation. I didn't remember what I had been thinking about before I walked in, but the moment I met his bloodshot eyes, I thought of how, once on the set, Sushi had discovered that I was also Su Anshan's daughter. She had abandoned her image and poured water all over me, from head to toe. She had said to me angrily, "You xia, let me tell you, for your entire life, you'll be just like your lowly mother, never able to stand on the stage." Everyone was silent, watching all of this with cold eyes. It was 5 degrees below zero that day, and I was shivering all over. Amongst the cold onlookers, Jiang walked over to me all alone and draped his clothes over me. I was worried that he would be judged, so I tried to refuse, but the large hand on my shoulder didn't move. His eyes were very dark as he looked at me steadily. "You xia, let me help you, okay?" So, in that dark room, I held his abnormally hot hand and used the greatest courage that I had in my entire life. I asked, "Jiang, can I help you too?" All of the memories came rushing back. I smiled bitterly. Maybe my Moonlight also had her own Moonlight that she was chasing. I silently walked to the other side of the small garden and sat quietly on the swing. After going back, Jiang would probably bring up the divorce with me. I thought forlornly, but someone suddenly sat next to me. It was Lin Jixiao again. I looked at her in a daze. I felt that her appearances were too frequent, and every time she appeared, I had a strange feeling. Lin Jixiao smiled that familiar smile at me again. She looked towards the lively direction of the garden. "How is it? That person, he's very boring, right?" She was talking about Jiang. "He's not." I lowered my head and said softly, "He's been like that since he was a child, with a cold, dead fish face like everyone owes him money. And he doesn't know how to talk, and doesn't know how to make girls happy. But he does have some money." When the netizens saw this scene, they started to get excited again. It's here, it's here. I've been waiting all day, and this moment is finally here." This is the classic line of a former girlfriend showing off. The classics, "He's always been like that, you know. I know him the best." Yuxia's aura seems so weak. It feels like she's already been completely hurt. I clenched my hand subconsciously. The bullet screen comments were right. Compared to the 20-plus years of friendship between Lin Jixiao and Jiang Yu, I was nothing. The girl next to me continued, "And let me tell you, his temper is so bad sometimes. He tells me to get lost directly." I was stunned and said hesitantly, "What? Yeah, tell me, isn't he full of flaws? If you put it that way, then I guess so." "Exactly." Lin Jixiao's eyes lit up, as if she'd found someone who shared the same opinion. She scooted closer to me, getting very close. Look, he has so many flaws. Why do you even like him? If you also think that he's not that good, she got closer and closer to me. What do you think about me? I have a lot of money too. Me? Netizens? My expression froze on my face. The bullet screen also went dead silent. Lin, Ji, Xiao. The man's roar came from behind. I was sitting between Jiang and Lin Jixiao, and I'd never felt that the world was so absurd. Who the hell would have thought? Lin Jixiao liked women. Jiang Yu's face was dark, and he had his arm tightly around my waist. His gaze was so cold that it seemed that he could slice Lin Jixiao into pieces in the next second. Lin Jixiao also had a displeased expression. I glanced at Jiang Yu, and then I glanced at Lin Jixiao. Actually, I said weakly, didn't I tell you to stay away from her? Jiang Yu said through gritted teeth. Well, I didn't know that you meant it like that. Lin Jixiao said unhappily. Why are you yelling at her? You're even her husband. She must be suffering with you. Do you have to show off? Jiang Yu exploded. You've been doing so much to be nice to her all day long. Do you even need her? Am I dead? She's my wife. Then why do you always act so high and mighty? I've never seen you be nice to her. If you don't love her, just let her go and let someone else come. Who the hell told you that I don't love her? Jiang Yu completely lost it. He turned his head to look at me. His eyes darkened, and the hand on my waist was burning hot. He said, for this entire lifetime, I will never let her go. The netizens were experiencing an adrenaline rush from this entire day. Never letting go for a lifetime. Oh my God, he loves her so much. Yo, TH's is my wife. Dying of laughter. President Jiang was provoked and revealed his true nature, directly asking 3 question marks. This show is too damn interesting, huh? There are so many plot twists. I hurriedly tried to appease the two of them. Okay, it was a misunderstanding. Lin Jixiao pouted. Xia, look at him. He's gonna hit me. And you say that it's a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? A misunderstanding that she's trying to steal my wife. Jiang Yu was so angry that the corners of his eyes were red. Me? You also didn't tell me in the first place, I said quietly. The netizens were all saying that Jixiao was your white moonlight. What? Lin Jixiao's eyes were full of shock. Jiang Yu was confused. What moonlight? What moon? I swallowed hard. White moonlight. Who started this rumor? Lin Jixiao said angrily. It must be that kid Ji. He's always starting rumors like this. It must have been during that party before I went abroad. So what exactly happened? Before I went abroad, a few of my childhood friends wanted to get together. I was kind of vain at the time, and I always bought new cars and drove around with beautiful girls. Lin Jixiao's expression suddenly became a bit shy. My family saw that I was so wild, so they cut off my funding and only gave me a bit of money each month. I could spend all of it at the start of the month. At the time, we were all rich kids, and we were all being restricted by our families more or less, but Jiang Yu was the richest. She spoke more and more softly, so I just borrowed a bit of money from him. I was puzzled. Then what does this have to do with the white moonlight? That's the problem, Lin Jixiao said indignantly. Your husband mocked me and said that I was a moonbeam tribe who wouldn't be able to pay back a single yuan even after 10 years. That's so insulting. At the time, we were young and hot-headed, and we loved that circle. That was heard by someone from the circle who was our rival. Probably just to disgust us, they created that rumor. Lin Jixiao was very upset. That's too malicious, too malicious. To say that I like men. No wonder my younger sisters don't look for me anymore. Almost all of them deleted me. Some of them even cursed me for being a scammer before they deleted me. Woo-woo. I'm really sad. Can someone speak up for me? Me? Is that all? The truth was even more ridiculous than I had imagined. I should have known. Jiang Yu wasn't normal. How could his friends be normal? The audience was so shocked that the bullet screen comments were filled with ellipses. I'm really speechless. Is that it? The white moonlight trope has been around for so long, and you see I've been getting hated on this whole time. I already said that we shouldn't spread rumors. That's how rumors come about. Everyone on the internet believed it. This is too ridiculous. Damn, Yuxia is so pitiful. She's been hated on for so long. Those people said such horrible things. Where is it that President Jiang doesn't like Yuxia? You haters should open your eyes and look at his hands. He's about to strangle her. I'm dying of laughter. President Jiang loves her so much. I can still hear that line, "She's trying to steal my wife," in my ears. The misunderstanding was finally resolved. I also took advantage of the show to ask about something that I had always been worried about. What about the blue diamond? I pursed my lips. Huh. Jiang didn't react for a moment. I fidgeted with my fingers, feeling a bit embarrassed. It's that one, the Oppenheimer. Sushi said that you gave it to Ji Xiao, and that made me so angry. I thought about it and felt wronged. The emotions that had been suppressed for so long finally had an outlet. I cried out. I like that kind of shiny stuff the most. Everyone was telling me that you didn't like me. I thought. When Jiang saw my reaction, he thought it was both funny and heart-wrenching. Okay, don't cry. It's yours. No one can take it away. I only have you as my wife. Who else would I give it to? I was planning to give it to you next month for your birthday. He hugged me and wiped my tears. You cry so easily. How come I didn't know that our Mrs. Jiang is such a crybaby? I looked at him with tears in my eyes. I didn't know that you liked me before. I didn't dare to cry. You don't say anything, and you're so cold to me. When Jiang heard this, his expression became a bit unnatural. But since he had already revealed everything in front of hundreds of millions of viewers, he eventually told the truth. A few years ago, I had gained some popularity because of the Ming Palace. Taking advantage of the popularity of the show, I went on a reality show with the cast. On the show, I had publicly expressed my ideal type. At that time, I had said that I liked cold and aloof and quiet men, the kind of untouchable high-class men that I could chase but never reach. After hearing that, Jiang had always been working hard to fit that image. His expression was a bit awkward. After hearing that, I felt both amused and angry. Jiang, are you an idiot? Jiang looked a bit wronged. I was very serious about doing what you said. I'm okay with being cold and quiet, but being celibate is a little too difficult. He pursed his lips. Me and the bullet screen comments were laughing like crazy. Jiang, I touched his face and said very seriously, at that time, I was completely describing you as I had imagined you. I don't have an ideal type. I only have an ideal person. Before I had finished speaking, Jiang kissed me. Me too, he said. Yuxia, I love you, more than you can imagine. As if to respond to the netizens, Jiang posted on Weibo that night, an account that he never used. Jiang V. This is my wife. The accompanying picture was a photo of our hands clasped together. On my hand, the 300 million Oppenheimer diamond was shining brightly. 21. In the later episodes, Jiang never left my side. Netizens gave him the nickname 29-year-old middle-aged pure love clingy man, Neo Haru Jiang. After the viewers of the first episode were shocked countless times in just one day, the number of live viewers for the second episode directly exceeded 200 million. After all, aside from us, Zheng Xuqi and Ming Yin had also gotten back together on this show. The final announcement from the two of them was, let's just keep torturing each other. I'm willing. After going back home, I can still hear Jiang inner voice. But sometimes I feel like this ability is no longer needed, because Jiang is becoming more and more unhinged. Wife, a kiss. I can only go to work if you give me a kiss. The man was hugging me from behind, and he kept rubbing his head against my shoulder. You're enough. I laughed and pushed him away. How many times have you kissed me? Not enough. I'll miss you so much that I'll faint if I don't get enough kisses. I'm 29 already. I'm middle-aged. What's wrong with being a little old-fashioned? My wife will forgive me. Acting cute. So old-fashioned. Jiang looked injured. So you won't love me if I'm old-fashioned? You were saying last night that. I quickly pinched his mouth to prevent him from saying any vulgar words. I love you. I love you. I love you. Then say it. Say what? Say, husband, please go to work. Me? Or else I won't go, and I'll let the Jiang Corporation go bankrupt. Me? What kind of a CEO is like this before going to work every day? I endured and endured. But I couldn't help it. President Jiang, your money. You wouldn't even be able to spend all of it even if you gave 10,000 yuan to every person from the Qing dynasty to now. In the end, I forcibly chased him out. The moment Jiang Yu left the house, he returned to his usual cold and aloof face. But the entire country knew what he was really like now. It was so funny. He just couldn't hide it. I shook my head with a smile and thought about the sentence that had popped up in his heart before he had left. I am willing to not watch Empresses in the Palace for 3 days in exchange for my wife wearing that outfit tonight. So he was still thinking about his cat outfit. I rolled my eyes in annoyance in my heart. Then, with a flushed face, I went upstairs and started rummaging through a pile of gift boxes.